Cabbage Plucked. This short story was brought to you, read to you, and written to you by Steve Prime, myself. I was once a farmer. Would you believe that? I barely do. To think that the only hope for us all would be me, of all people. But I guess that's where kindness brings you. If you do good, you either inspire others to do good on your behalf, or you're granted even more opportunities for doing good yourself. And now I'm standing here, in front of a mighty wyvern. As its claws swung at me, I nimbly dodged to the side, rolling to lessen my impact. The only rolls I used to have were rolls of fat. Now I'm nimble, quick on my feet, and dexterous. I plunged my sword into the dragon with almost surgical precision, piercing its heart. And the green of the sword contrasted so nicely with the red of the beast's blood. As I pulled my blade from it, the people around me revealed themselves, getting out of their hiding places, though still remaining cautious. The children, however, they ran towards me, and with that excited look in their eyes. "Mr. Fighter, sir," they would ask me, "how'd you get that strong? And where'd you get that pretty sword?" And, of course, as always, I sat down with the children to sate their curiosity. Well, it's a funny story, really. I used to farm my lands day and night, working tirelessly, all that just to scrape by. But one day, one of the cabbages grew larger than all. So, instead of harvesting it, I decided to let it grow, and just to see how big it would get. As the weeks passed, it got larger and larger. Weeks turned to months, and months turned to years. I would always go to the cabbage after a long day of work and just sit down next to it, talking. To whom? Probably to myself. But, I never had the luck of finding a lad to live with, or children to tell stories to, or really anyone in my life. Though I spent a lot of time thinking of fun stories, so I just told them to the cabbage. And over time, as the cabbage grew and grew, years finally turned to decades. I was old, my back hurt, but I still did my farm work, and I still went to the cabbage to tell it the new stories I had come up with every day. Well, whenever I had the time to. And yet I was barely scraping by, still, since the nobles took so much of our food. I was hungry, but I still didn't cut the cabbage. I still remember my last day on the farm as if it was yesterday. A terrible storm had hit my home. I saw my fields getting devastated, drowned in water, and getting ripped out of the ground by the howling winds. As I heard my house creak, the one I had built with my own hands, I was sure it would not survive the storm. So I left it, running to the one place I was the most worried about losing. I walked against the wind, freezing in my drenched clothing, my old bones shaking. But I kept on going. Even if my life was to end this night, I would want to see him one last time. As I finally arrived there, I saw the enormous cabbage still before me, wavering in the wind. It would probably not be able to resist nature's wrath much longer. So I embraced it, leaning against the wind with all the force my weak body had left within it. A lifetime of work had worn me down, but I never felt my muscles ache and my bones creak as strongly as on that day. Then, before I knew it, my feet left the ground. At first it felt like I was going to be flung through the air, but then I wasn't. I opened my eyes and, well, I do have to say I had to question my sanity. Before me, I saw a beautiful lady, made of grass and leaves and roots and all those beautiful nature things. Oh, and those eyes, those beautiful emerald eyes. The cabbage had opened like a flower, the lady having emerged from its middle. And me, well, I was floating in front of her, feeling no wind and no rain. She told me I had been good, that she enjoyed hearing my stories very much. She also told me I died that day. She said I was a good friend, and that I didn't deserve what happened to me, and that there are other good people out there as well who don't deserve the same thing, and that I had the power to change that, and that she would help me every step of the way. The next thing I knew was that I woke up in a patch of nice and comfy grass. My body wasn't aching. I actually felt rather refreshed, and my skin was smooth again. And as I looked around me, I found this here sword. With that, I showed the children my delicate sword, thin as a leaf, with a purple hilt and a long green blade, made out of cabbage. I call it Cabbage Plucked. It was a gift from my lady, to help myself and others get out of the situations others had trapped us in. I helped people regrow their crops by stabbing the soil. I helped save a city from a volcanic eruption by cutting a ravine, connecting the nearest river and the boiling rock. And, well, I slew a dragon. That one was for you guys. I looked down and noticed the sword humming with a soft glow. I sat up and sheathed it again. Okay, kids, that's enough story time. Sir Fighter has to continue. There's a lot of people that need helping, and me and my lady will be the ones to do it. It's been really nice meeting you. Farewell. The kids waved excitedly, and I waved back, ready for my next adventure. This reading was brought to you by Steve Prime Productions. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like, subscribe, maybe ring the bell if you want to, and if you have any constructive or destructive criticism, feel free to leave it in the comments. And this was my contribution to the Cabbage Writing Challenge. Well, I hoped you liked my part, and if you've actually listened until this point, how about you tell me which one you liked more? The Day the Cabbage Fell or Cabbage Plucked? Tell me. I want to know what you think. And have a lovely day.